so so gebe shesan dala tendo so oyon sunge nawa tsedo so tseji nine sowa debe tse dejen korlo veso leksyon yela sambe dede maleba geme lunge drubra jingelo sonyi sodan digdun shabe tse dunge namge yinsu leksyon labchen sonyi yonsu zobadan chera nidun chanra jingelo chancho pargi ninsen tukun tu niyo peme siudro leksyon chancho drube gegen kunshishi tungen dela drubra jingelo dagi lona chola chopadan chemi samjorangenba shiwadan chodan tumbe dede malupa beme lunge drubra jingelo dorna tingne tsira tamchedan Negaw tamchetu rese kyamne lama kele me tuje chingi dala siksus gongyab drewe nyamda dachala jetsun lame tuje rabgongne kodan sunge nawa drame tu nyamsu nyongwe kesan toprasho kewa kundu yanda lama dan drame chiki pela longchechi sada lamge yonde rabzon dorje change koba nyurutobe sho Pakyuke kodan dagi lo, pakyuke sondan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chikto jingi lo. Makyuke kodan dagi lo, makyuke sondan dagi, tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chikto jingi lo. Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Shakya Muni Svoha Sangye Chedan Soge Chonam La Jancho Pardo Dani Kyapsu Chi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Gi Drola pinchira sangye druparashu sangye chedan tsogi chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu chin dagi jinso gibe sonamgi drola pinchira sangye drupare sangye chedan tsogi chonamla chancho pardo dani kyapsu Dagi jinso gibe sonamgi drola pinchira sangye druparashu. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. One very important point, fundamental point that we have seen yesterday and then the day before yesterday, and I would like just to bring it back again for an instant, is the fact that on our process on the path to enlightenment, it's important for us to listen, it's important for us to understand, it's important for us to comprehend, which means when the knowledge is not anymore something that we repeat that someone said, but is actually something that we have understood so clear that it becomes our own knowledge. It's not something that is coming from someone, but it's something that is our own conclusion somehow. So, this is all very important. But once we had really understood and comprehended something, that's just the beginning of a process. It's like we open the door. Now we need to go in and we need to walk through. Which is the door that we open? It's the door of familiarization. Once we have understood something, then we need to start familiarizing ourselves with it in order for it to become spontaneous and natural within ourselves. It's not something that, okay, I have understood and that's enough. Okay? That's a difficulty that we have very often in our Western world because very often we are very mental, and we think that by understanding it's enough. And understanding is an important part, but it's just the beginning. So once we have understood something, we need to familiarize ourselves with it. But what we need to familiarize ourselves with in the path is not with the concepts, but with the states of mind that we want to develop. So, for example, if we want to develop love, we can go through the whole logics and understanding of why I need to develop love, of the importance of love. I need to go through the fact of how I develop love, so I understand the equanimity of all sentient beings, and I look at their suffering, and I can go through the whole understanding of that, which is very good. But to familiarize myself with the concept of how to develop love is not enough. I need to go through that process and induce myself to the deep feeling of wanting others to be happy. When I develop that deep feeling within myself, well, now I am feeling love. Once I have felt love in that way, I have not yet reached the conclusion, the result. My objective is to familiarize myself with that feeling by generating it again and again and again, up to a moment then that it will come naturally. That just by looking at others, I can have that same feeling again. Just by remembering, just by saying, may all sentient beings have happiness and its causes, this will naturally bring me to this state of love again. Okay? This takes training. But the training is not to train on the concept, it's to train on the feeling, on the emotion. We need to induce ourselves to that feeling and emotion. And how do we do that? We do that because we are all influential beings. We can be influenced so easily, actually. If we look, we are influenced by the media, by what we see in television or what we read in the news. We are influenced by what our friends tell us, by the gossiping around or whatever. By every information we receive, we are influenced. And we can also influence ourselves. If we start thinking in one direction, our mind will follow that direction. Whatever that direction may be, good or bad, in whatever way we may go, we influence ourselves, okay? So let's use this ability in a positive way. I want to generate a certain state of mind. Let me induce myself to that state of mind so that I can get familiarized with it, which is different than when we have a certain state of mind that is coming out of a reaction for something that have happened, no? Just as Pabongkha Rinpoche put for us, here we have in page number 17 in English, and it says, in the end, and sometimes one can suddenly have a great experiential insight of ascertainment without having done any specific meditation, but it is based upon feeling and therefore it is not reliable. This is meaning that when we can feel, maybe we feel love, or for example, we feel the preciousness of this life because we see someone in such a bad situation and difficult condition, that we say, wow, my life is precious. Is it a truth? Is a feeling truth? A real one? Yes. It's a true feeling. It's not fake. But it is being generated through an external condition. So for that reason, it's not reliable because it depends on an external condition. When I don't see anyone worse than me, then I will forget about that feeling again. And then I would need once again to have someone in a bad condition in order for me to have again that feeling. The objective is to generate that sensation of the preciousness of this life coming from within, without needing external conditions. Okay? So when we do a process of self-inducing oneself into a certain state of mind, this will help us to generate that feeling. And once we generate that emotion, when we generate that state of mind, then we can generate it again more and more easily. Then we are familiarizing ourselves with it. Okay? On the path to enlightenment, there are few of these states of mind that we need to generate. And one is connected to the other. The first one, which is quite delicate in a way, we have gone extensively through it yesterday, and today we are just going to go quickly through it with the rest of the text remaining. We're not going to go into details right now. Is the importance for us to develop faith, gratitude, trust on our own spiritual guides. Okay, he or she. Which means if I am a patient, if I am sick, first of all, first thing I need is to wish to get to be cured. Once I have the determination, I want to get cured from my disease, then I need to look for someone that can help me, because just by myself I am not able. Then once I find a doctor, I must have trust in the doctor. For that reason, I must look for the right doctor. I must go around, have many experiences, check. Well, once I found someone, I must have two types of trusts. I must have trust in the doctor and the treatment, and I must have also trust that I am able to get cured. This is important, generally speaking. Even, I remember there was this study about cancer, and they took patients that were cured of cancer from all different types of methods, from chemotherapy to the most alternative techniques. So they took people that got cured from cancer from all different places, and then basically they made a research to look which were the aspects in common on the process that all the patients had. And the only thing in common that they could find in all the patients that got cured from their cancer was that they were certain that the type of treatment they were making was the best treatment for them and was the right one. And they believed they could get cured. So, we have a big influence in ourselves. And if I am in a process of healing, it's important for me to trust. Similarly, this is a metaphor. In the Dharma, in the process of getting out of samsara, of healing ourselves from our selfishness and ignorance, we must first wish so strong to get out of samsara to eliminate our own ignorance and selfishness. Second, we must trust the one that is guiding us. Otherwise, we are not really going to do the process in the right way. Because following the metaphor, very often the medicine is bitter. So if I really don't trust it, the taste is not good. Shall I really continue that or not? But if we really believe in it, then we continue it. So similar to that, the spiritual path is a wonderful path and is a path of joy, but it's not always easy. And if we have truly trust, this will give me the strength necessary to go on my path, step after step. So, since the long, long time, what all the masters have been teaching us from generation to generation is, first step, develop full trust. But the development of trust is something that is not immediate. So the process is like a spiral, where we go around. So as we move up, we go back to the same point again and again, and it becomes deeper and stronger. So it's not that developing trust on our spiritual guide is something that we need to finish completely on the first step, then we can go to the second. We develop a certain level. And then as we move along the path, it will become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay? So is the sensation of the preciousness of this life and the urgency to do something good with it. Okay? So we'll continue now reading the part regarding the preciousness of this life. I advise everyone to go again and read it again. The text that we have here is a very simple text. It's not complicated at all. It's a very special text. We have made the translations ourselves here from the center. And it's a very special text because normally most texts are or a transcription of a teaching, or is the master that wrote it directly to transmit something. In this case, is a different case, which these are the transcripts of the notes during retreat of Pabongkha Rinpoche. So when he was doing his own retreat on Lamrim, he wrote notes. He took 1 year and a half meditating on all of this. And he took notes on his own insights. And basically here he's sharing his own process of reasoning and inducing himself to certain states of consciousness. So we have his own process, which do not necessarily need to be the same process that we need to use exactly the same. The important thing is to induce ourselves to this feeling of connection, faith, and gratitude. But We can follow different paths for that. We are in a different time, we have different culture. We don't need necessarily to have exactly the same way how he did. But here he's sharing with us the process that he had. Okay, remember that Kyabje Pabongkha Dechen Nyingpo. We have him depicted on the wall there, where three masters is the one on the left side. Okay, he was the guru of Kyabje Trishan Rinpoche, which was the guru of Lama Ganchen. Pabongkha Rinpoche was the guru of basically all the masters that came after him in the Gelugpa tradition mostly. Okay, so a very incredibly important master and realized being, and incredible his own practice, and if we go through his life, it's really amazing. Anyhow, here he shares with us his own experience and his own way of reasoning to reach that state of faith and gratitude and so on. So we will just follow it, and I advise everyone maybe just to go and in a moment to read again what we saw yesterday and so on, okay? So we have reached page number 33 in English, okay? Ona tametu nawa chi yin nyamnas, teni shinto tabla kebe rang sukte te yang chokuni yeshe chinya kyabar gyur kuyi kyangni teni kyab chebatar yeshe gima kyabe sa me kyang dagi kala jal sangye nang pensung kona le changsem sa chubawe kyang mi jal rongcho zokur ten kyang dagi kala jal changba kone choyu yings chogi trukur ten kyang soke le da yenche gi choyu yinbe dagi jal mi tups tome gi jamba kimor tongwa shing dale membara tena yi mi chebe rangdang kalnyam mi sha tsuk su tengo ba chung sangye tamebe number temba di dala pe shengi mi pe mi number temba di diga dagi kalgi sangye yin dagi su jalnube sangye dindra jalwa yang kalwa sangye gi chadang rida so su tulnang didang ter tulwa le mi talwes kebar kanya mi jals lama yang tedan dra sangye sheba tsowo nangi yondele chi number samla kala ser dugi sangye gi ku drawar ten yo mu tenla sangye yinas nambala ke chiyos shinyen tenzu ke kawa di sangwa samgi mikyabe namtarla samgöbes te lola mi tsube yimbar dus tena sangwa samgi mikyabe tsul samtes sangi ki ku ngosu nangnes dulwa namla ku ngodans ku ngosu nang minukyang gewe shenyengi namba duwa namla gewe shenyendang tekyang dulka meba namla tsangwa du cha rida soki suksu tembar zebale da ngogi dulka mekyang gewe shenyengi dulka yoba di yinbe tedar gewe shenyengi number 10 teyang cherezi ki pötu cherezi ki pö dulchir triudans chögya pendru sodans jamyangi jetun sonkamba sosu truba shinos tena sange tamche ki da drembe chirtu lamar trul rangi koyokalgi sange kyang te dremba yang te lamdön kyang te mikpu yang te kyoba yang te domtemba yang te trulba yang te chikpu yinas rangi kyang tela rang janchu matogi partu lo tse chiktu drimnes kyunyi lama kyunyi idam kyunyi kanro chogyonte tene sonte janchu bardu kyumi kyashi minsoba jidam bardu chumetaren tuja chagyo sonsola sishi ji rungo tengi chozo pajo sung sheba tar jukchi ma che gos lama yidam ni ka pargyur tsurgyur ki mikpa yang chena penches tetar chene te sange kungi ransu yinbe chinlap cheshin
rangi kalwar chetu jompa yimbes chinlap shintu nyurwa yang inos teming nekab lama la re goba le puk tele lape sangye yedam shik jagyu yo nyamne pukre chesa shintu gina tela chinlap da ngudrup kanyang tobar kaos perna lamdrang jikpa chesa shikna rangi kimne sumi shik chenga tangna tela lamdrang le trolwe reto che gogis machulwa shikla reto chungwa shinos tena sangye kungi da rinpoche du truba te lama kyo yinas da kyang kyo ni la da kyang kyo ni kona la rewe kyo gi chinla kyo gi chingi lopshis deshe samwa samgi mika pe gyu tu shingi pökar rap mong pe rangi tongso ni tu den sungwa tache di drimne tabar lu serab shentu lama shenshiki jesu zingyo yo nyamtes kuyi namba ni drami natsu shik jungwa le ngowo sangye tamchegi yeshe ransu rangi lame nambar sharwa dile shen kanshik nye tele shenpa nyeba tab me tos lama sangye tamchegi yeshe ki ransu nyeba nyena lama nye sangye tamchegi ngowo yin mik tsema tabu soldeb ki tseyans jermbo che la solwa tabse lama la solwa taba yins lama tsenga so lama la solwa taba kyan sangye tamche la solwa taba yins tena tsenga drembe sangye ki nyimbo dremba yins lama shal shuk tu chudan chulap tabos ma shuk tu chula timba tabos lama dan sangye tamche dreba nyamna dreba nyam cheba chungna tokpa keba yins dagi lama di kadrin che nguen dacha ki tenpa so sangye chansen penru tamba tetsam chonkyang dulwarma nubar ranglu da talam lama di jesu masungna chitar gyur dagi chönge jitra chekyang tadun geshi jesu sung chö sabge dindra sung rangyo gyongba tul tendra kadrin ge chewa la kadrin di kangi sul nu drupe shabto kone kadrin saba drupe shabto kone kadrin saba le me. Okay, we go to English. Only the Buddhas themselves can see others. Not even the bodhisattvas of the 10th bhumi can see them, which means the Buddha in their own very subtle body, in their own true nature, can only be seen by other Buddhas. Even the bodhisattva of the 10th bhumi, which is the one that is almost about to reach enlightenment, cannot see other Buddha. Even if they show themselves in the Sambhogakaya form, which is called the enjoyment body, which is the subtle body of a Buddha, how could I see them? A body of enjoyment is an object of perception only of the Arya or superior bodhisattvas. The subtle body of a Buddha can only be seen by the bodhisattvas that have already gone out of samsara, which are called Arya, that have already developed wisdom. They have the bodhisattvas that have already gone out of samsara, they are able to see the Buddhas in their subtle form, which is called the Sambhogakaya. I am not yet there, so I cannot see them. A body of enjoyment is an object of perception only to the Arya or superior bodhisattvas. Even if they show themselves in the body of supreme emanation, it could be seen only by ordinary beings with pure karma and those upwards, whereby I cannot see. Even if they manifested in the so-called Nirmanakaya, but if not in a way which is directly adapted to my ability of seeing him, I would not see the Buddhas. Okay? So even if a Buddha come here right now and say, okay, here I am, and he's showing himself in his body of light and purity, can I see? No. Just like the story of a Sangha seeing Maitreya and his old female dog, if they manifested as something inferior to me, I would not believe in it. If the Buddha came and manifested as, I don't know, a little animal or something that I see as inferior, would I believe, oh, there is the Buddha? No. Therefore, they had to show themselves in a human form. The fact that the Buddhas have shown themselves in an ordinary aspect benefits me, not otherwise. The only way how I can see a Buddha is by the Buddha manifesting himself in an ordinary form as a human being. Otherwise, how can I connect to the Buddha? It's impossible. This very manifestation of the human aspect is a Buddha for me, given my present fortune, my present state. It is a Buddha that I can actually see myself. I am fortunate to see this already. Okay? If we have a being of wisdom, no? If we take someone that have reached a great state of wisdom and have eliminated completely all his ignorance and is reborn, and what is his main wish? To benefit others. Which is the way of benefiting others? Guiding them spiritually. That's the best way of helping others. So, how can a Buddha help me now? Let's say all the Buddhas come together and say, we want to help you. How can they do that? The only way is by interacting with me. There is no other way. So as it is by interacting with me, how can someone interact with me? By coming to a level that I can see and I can touch and I can listen, I can understand and I can connect. There is no other way. And the only way of that is through a human form. Even if the Buddhas emanate themselves as birds, antelopes, and so forth, we would often mistake them for this and that animal, whereby we would not see them differently from what is actually seen. We'll just see as animals. This is, when say here birds and antelopes, it's actually referring to stories of moments and when Buddha emanated themselves in the form of birds and antelopes and so on. So, if a Buddha would come here and emanate himself in the form of a dog or whatever animal, what would we see? Just a dog. We would not recognize as a Buddha. So, the Guru is seen likewise. The so-called Buddha is mainly about inner qualities, what is there to be judged from the external aspect. Even a devil, and even like a bad spirit, can indeed show him or her like a real Buddha. What difference is there if somebody really were truly a Buddha? Which means, when we say that our Guru is a Buddha, we're not talking about the external appearance. We're not saying, oh, look, how is his hair? Does he look like the Buddha or not, or this or that? Does he have the 32 marks, major marks of a Buddha, and the 80 minor marks of a Buddha, external marks of a Buddha, and so on? Oh, yes or no? We are talking about internal qualities. Because the external aspect, we cannot trust truly the external aspect. How many times there are people that manifest one way based on our judgment of the external appearance, but inside is completely different? Yesterday we told the story of the old monk in the monastery that my teacher met, that was seen as the monk that nobody ever respected by any way, but finally he showed that he had realizations that no one else had, mostly. Or I yesterday talked about the story in a more gross level of this fighter from Brazil. Is a champion of whatever type of fight. And my friend needed to make some interview with him. And he was thinking, oh, what a terrible day. I need to stay the whole day with this fighter, you know. A man so rough, no culture and whatever, like such a bad judgment. And when he met him, by the end of the day, he was completely shocked because this fight champion had such a great character and a nice charisma. The boy that was shooting the movie together, he was hugging him and didn't want to get away from him by the end of the day. And he was a man of culture and kind and with a very good charisma and so on. So he said it was completely the opposite of what I would have ever expected. So, we cannot judge based on appearances, truly speaking. We cannot see, oh, is this person a Buddha or not? Is this person a realized being or not? oh, a realized being would have the hair like that and would look like that. That's not possible. We are talking about inner qualities. So we cannot judge by the external appearance. Even though if we look in some cultures, external appearance, in all cultures, external appearance somehow matter, no? That's why if we look in every religion, like in Tibet was also the same, the main masters, they would appear externally in a certain way in order to induce people to have respect and faith and so on. That's why maybe they would use special brocade clothes and dress in gold and do things, because at that time, at that culture, people would say, oh, he's really special, look how he's being respected and taken care by others. No? But this is just external appearance. Sometimes it can be used to induce people's mind, but it's not something that we can truly trust. Okay? It is difficult to develop a proper way to rely upon a spiritual master. If it was difficult for Pabongkha Rinpoche, imagine for us. Okay? So, it's not something obvious, it's something that we need to cultivate in time. For this, it is necessary to contemplate their inconceivable biography, means contemplate their life. Because when we really look to our gurus and what they were able to do, and we observe the qualities and so on, there are things that go much beyond our own ability of understanding how it is possible and seeing the qualities and so on. It is difficult because it goes beyond our mental capacity. When it talks about the inconceivable biography, it's actually talking about the inner realizations that we are not able to see. By thinking of countless unimaginable means, they appear with their actual bodies to those who can be tamed through the appearance of an actual body of a Buddha. Which means the Buddhas, they appear as a Buddha for those that can be tamed and guided from the appearance of an actual Buddha. Or they appear as a virtual spiritual friend to those who can be tamed by the aspect of a virtual spiritual friend, although they cannot explicitly appear in their body. A Buddha will appear in the form of a human body, of a spiritual guide, for those that can be guided by a spiritual guide and that cannot see the actual body of a Buddha. For those who do not even have the fortune to be tamed through the aspect of virtual spiritual friends, they, the Buddhas, show themselves in the form of Brahma, Indra, devils, birds, antelopes, and so forth. Which means they will manifest themselves in whatever form they can interact with the other sentient beings that they want to help. So the Buddhas will always manifest themselves. And this, we are not talking about Buddhas help Buddhists. No. Buddhas are pure beings that have completely eliminated all their mental defilements, that have developed their qualities to their maximum potential. And they will manifest and adapt themselves in accordance to the needs and capacities and mentalities of each and everyone, independently of culture, place, religion, and so on. Okay? So they will adapt to me in accordance to my own abilities and needs. In my case, although I do not have the fortune to be tamed directly by the Buddhas themselves, through their actual appearance as Buddhas, I have the fortune of being tamed by a virtuous spiritual friend. Why we say the word to be tamed? Because we are wild. With our selfishness, with our ignorance, with our pride and arrogance, and I'm not changing my behavior, I'm there, So somehow we need to be tamed, we need to be guided. It's not so simple, actually. Therefore, they have shown the aspect of a virtuous spiritual friend to me. Why? Because I can be tamed by a virtuous spiritual friend. That's why the Buddhas have manifested themselves in that way. Furthermore, it is like Avalokiteshvara, the Buddha of compassion, who emanated as a monkey, a Dharma king, Panditas, Mahasiddhas, and so forth, and Manjushri, who emanated as a great venerable Tsongkhapa, and so forth, to tame the Tibetans. Hence, all the Buddhas emanated as a guru in order to guide me. And if this guru alone is also the Buddha of my dose of fortune, also the conductor, also the guide, also the leader of the blind, also the Lord Shakyamuni, also and also the emanation, then we should also keep holding on to him with a single-pointed mind until the attainment of enlightenment, as Panchen Losang Trygve Gyaltsen suggested in his Guru Puja text. Kyonye Lama, Kyonye Yidam, Kyonye Kandro Chogyonte. You are the Guru, the Yidam, the Daka, and the Dharmapala. From now until enlightenment, we do not seek any refuge other than you. Therefore, hold us with your compassionate hook in this life, in the bardo, and also in future lives. Free us from the fear of samsara and solitary peace. Bestow all siddhis and help us eternally and guard us from interferences. So we request the blessings from the Guru as being inseparable of all Buddhas. It would be a great benefit if we alternately visualize the Guru as our Idam. Idam is the Buddha in a pure, which manifests the qualities in their complete developed state, which is like sort of archetypes, as we can have Vajrayogini or Yamantaka or Guya Samaja and so on. So it would be of great benefit if we alternately visualize the Guru as our Idam and then the Idam as the Guru, over and over again. If we did like that, it would be a great blessing, since the Guru is the embodiment of all the Buddhas. Since the Guru has descended specifically for us in accordance to our fortune, to our capacity, we also receive their blessing very quickly, because the Guru is the one that is there connected to my own level, and he is inseparable of all Buddhas. By connecting to him, I connect to all Buddhas. On the contrary, if we depend on the Guru for the time being, out of necessity thinking, ultimately there are Buddhas and Yidams, something superior to see. Now I had the Guru, but there are also Buddhas better than that. If we gave our ultimate hope in somebody other than the Guru, then it will be difficult to receive any blessings and siddhis, realizations from him or her. For example, when a traveler is on a narrow and very dangerous road and somebody is sent from his own house to receive them, the traveler should hope to be saved from the dangerous road by him. There would be very little help from somebody else who had not been entrusted. So the Guru have been entrusted by all Buddhas to help me, so it's difficult that I should trust others around, because that's the one which was sent specifically to guide me. If you are the very Guru who is emanated by all the Gurus to lead me, I also put my hope only on you, therefore bless me. The inconceivable, illusory emanations of the Sugatas means the Buddhas, the holy beings. If the inconceivable, illusory emanations of the Sugatas are difficult for others to infer, and since we are very confused about it, we apprehend what we see as being truly existent. We have been deceived until now by this worse mental obscuration, which means we apprehend what we see as being truly existent. Reality is subjective, is not objective. But still we see the subjective reality as if it was objective. So when we look to others, what we think, they are as they appear to us. We believe mostly in the appearance, but actually nothing is exactly as it appears. Okay? Things exist in a dependence of the value that we attribute to it also. So in the same way, even if we have the perfect Buddha in front of us, if we relate to him having a reference of what we are and we start judging based on ourselves, that's what we are going to see. We can think that we will be taken care by other gurus in other lives. For example, that they can appear in various bodily forms. But in fact, how can we find something different from this embodiment? That is the appearance of one's own Guru, which by nature is the exalted wisdom of all the Buddhas. There is no way to find something other than this. If one can ascertain that the Guru is the exalted wisdom of all the Buddhas, then the Guru is the embodiment of all the Buddhas. At that point, even when making the Miktsema request, the prayer request to Lama Tsongkhapa, to Avalokiteshvara, the great treasure of unobservable mercy, Manjushri, the lord of stainless knowledge, Vajrapani, the destroyer of the evil troops, and Tsongkhapa Losandrakpa, the crown jewel of scholars, to the snowy land. In the snowy land, I make request to your holy feet. Whatever request it is made to Rinpoche or Lama Tsongkhapa is made to one's guru. And also any request that is made to one's guru by reciting such as his name, a mantra name, is made to all the Buddhas. Hence, reciting the mantra name of one's guru is reciting the essence mantra of all the Buddhas. When we start, and we always do, Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Munisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum. That's the mantra guru name. That's the mantra name of our guru, or the name mantra of the guru. And as we see our guru as being inseparable of all the Buddhas, it's like the connection to all the holy beings. By reciting his mantra, it's like if we are reciting the mantras of all Buddhas. While the guru is alive, it is like the water and its waves. When the guru is not alive, it's like the waves disappearing in the ocean. Which means the ocean and the waves, they are of the same nature, no? But the wave is coming out and manifesting from the ocean. And when it goes down, it just goes back to the same ocean. It's the same water. And then from that same water again manifests another wave. So the guru is the manifestation of all the Buddhas, of all the holy beings. When he's alive, it's like the wave out. When he's not alive, it's like the waves just going back and fading again in the middle of the whole ocean of all the Buddhas. If you have the sensation that the guru and all the Buddhas have been integrated, you have gained realizations. In the moment that you have the deep feeling, the deep certainty that all our gurus are inseparable, are one emanation of the other, and they are all inseparable of every Buddha, of every holy being. There is no difference between one and the other. This means we have gained the realization of relying correctly upon the guru. This is the realization that we have gained. What's the great kindness of our guru? In the past, although Buddhas and Bodhisattvas such as Lord Shakyamuni and the holy Panditas and Mahasiddhas descended, they were unable to tame me, and so I have been left here. If my guru does not take care of me under his care, what will happen to me? In the sense that how many Buddhas and holy beings have come to this existence up to now? Countless Buddhas and great masters and great Panditas and learned men and women and have come to this world. So many. But they were not able to tame this wild mind of myself. Who is being able to tame it? My own guru. So he's being able to do that no one has ever done in the past. So he's so kind to me. No matter how badly I behave, he still happily holds me under his care, and he teaches such profound and extensive Dharma. This is one of the qualities that we should look in a guru. It's someone that it doesn't matter what is our behavior, our attitude, he will always care for us with love and compassion. You know, like I have seen with Rinpoche, with Lama Ganchen, like some people come, he give an advice very gently and nice. Then 20 years pass and the people do the most worst things in the middle, go completely against his advice. Then come back after 20 years and there he is with the same nice smile, with the same loving care and saying the same advice as before. And he's not saying, I told you already 20 years ago why you didn't do it. No, he's not saying that. He's just there very kindly and loving the same way. That's one of the qualities that I think we should look for. He tames my rigid mental continuum. How can I repay this kindness, such great kindness? To repay that kindness, there is no way other than making the offering of practice as service. The best way through which I can repay back the kindness of the Guru is by putting into practice what he teaches me. Is by developing patience, love, stability, kindness, gratitude, respect, humility, wisdom, That's the way how to pay back what we have received. Okay? That's the best way. So by this way, we conclude this part of relying correctly upon the Guru. It is something that we develop as we go along our path. It's not something that we develop once. We should remember that the path, the spiritual path, is not linear. It is like a spiral. The spiral as we go on around, but as we go around, we go always higher and higher, slowly, slowly. Okay? So we come back to the same points again and again. But as we come back to them, we always come back in a deeper way, in a more profound way within ourselves. So we will go back again and again to the fact of relying correctly upon our spiritual friend. And this is something that as we move along our path, the deeper it will become, the stronger it will become in ourselves. Okay? But I think we actually even didn't need much explanation because Pabongkha Rinpoche is quite clear in the way he's written, right? But it's good for us to go together also as a way of transmission. Okay? So now let's continue with the next part. Del giorno sono la mi compagnalwa sok re la makebe nyam thungobes da tatso nyawar ke yona tsadrangi dunga ge narnes che kala drumnus da tatso yida su makebe tablex tundro su kena lenshin timu be mani tsamya dren mishes da tatso tundro makebe tablek so homa kunlang char Lama yintu kena yang tabtso dang legi dribe nuntes che minus Dölar kena döbe chawadang Kam kongma lar kena Nyingpo mebe something la kalpar yengte che mions Munkan tu mir kekyans Chagyu che mes Mi nangne kyang takop gil halor kena Gedi gi namye tsamyang mebe chokalanus Lemba dan kukpar kenang choge kalwa tal. Yul usu kekyang tawa lokpar kena ke yona kyamro tsik chik tsam chebe kaba yang tal. Nangbe tal tu kekyangs garwadang, shembadang, loklegi tsowadang. Miyo tabur kenang shenge kolpur songdes kyamro tsam chekyang Mani bumsan tse chik rilpola yang mi drups. Tendra tasho, mani nin chitsan yang drembe kalpa yang tals, teshin tu shingda, shimbu, shibun, songba, nyemba, mibun sok, chopar tokyans, chase dop, chakdan kingi, nemewa, nyamle mebe tragen, chongchokpa, Togewa, Kekyang Sammi Sheba, Che Shama Chegulgi Gomkyang, Dam nga Tarnang Logol tu Shorwas, Chang So Tsamla Rewa Soki, Mitse Tongse tu Tongwa, Tedar Mimbars. Sangla Manorwe Yonzo Lamgi Nyingpo Nyenes, Samgungi Sonye Tsam Chegyu Chungwar. Di Retsans, Nyalwa Mikomba Tsadrangi Ches, Yeda mikomba tegom giche, tudro mikomba lenguk sok gicheba sok jars. Yul ugi mi yang gashi gi mikomba lagle giche, teshin tu gashi tsema, gashi kyamnyul, gashi tsong, gashi shingle, gashi lelo che. Tse jugna lugi mikomba shikyang shargyu yo. Gashi mikomba che mishebe che gashi che shekyang tsedi lola matongwa mikomba os teshin tu jorwe tokyang samkyang tes. Okay. Identifying the leisures and endowments of our perfect human rebirth. When we talk about leisures and endowments, leisures means to have the space, to have the opportunity, to have the freedom. Endowments means what we gain. Okay, positive things that we have, So for leisure means to be free from negative aspects, and endowment means to have positive aspects that allows us to follow a spiritual path correctly. It is necessary to gain an experience of each of the 8 leisures, of not being born in hell and so forth. An example, in states of non-leisure. In our present life, we had been born in hell. If in our present life we had been born in hell, we would be afflicted by the suffering of heat and cold, whereby how could we practice Dharma? It is our good fortune that in our present life we have not been born in the hell realm. Similarly, if we had been born as hungry spirits, we would be afflicted by hunger and thirst, whereby how could we practice Dharma? It is our good fortune that in our present life we have not been born in the realm of hungry spirits. If we had been born as animals, we would be stupid and ignorant, whereby we would not know even how to recite a mantra. It is our good fortune that, in our present life, we have not been born in the realm of animals and so forth. Apply this phrase of good fortune for all the other rebirths of non-leisure. Does hell exist or not? Personally, I believe yes. Okay? But as Shantideva says in the Bodhisattva Charavatara, it doesn't necessarily need to be a physical place. It's a state of mind. Okay? Just to go directly to the point, I will tell a very short story, which is a true story, of one girl that she was known by the sister of a friend of ours. And basically, this girl, she went to her class of chemistry in the school, university, whatever. And in the class of chemistry, there was an accident, and she got all burned. So she ended up in the hospital in coma, with her whole body burned, and she stayed in coma for 10 days. There she was, physically where in the hospital, okay? Being taken care in a safe place and so on. But when she woke up from the coma, she was completely in stress and trauma. Took some time for her to be able to talk, and what she was able to explain, she told that during the process of the coma that took 10 days, her inner experience was of constantly being raped and burned, then being raped and burned, and then raped and burned, again and again and again and again. This is hell. When in the Buddhist teachings are described the different types of hell, there is one type which is called the in English like repeating hell, something like recurrent hell. The recurring hell is a state of mind where there is a very strong suffering, and that same suffering repeats again and again for not endless but countless times. Okay? And it's said that hell lasts very long. For this girl, her experience lasted 10 days, or her inner sensation was of a much longer time? I think for a much longer time. Okay? Physically, was she raped and burned again and again? No. Did she experience that suffering or not? Yes. When we have a very bad nightmare, do we go through the suffering during the nightmare or not? Yes, even though we are there in our bed, okay? Similar to that, this girl, she experienced the suffering of being raped again and again and of being burned again and again. Okay, this is hell. Then, we don't need to go very far away. There are people that enter into a state of such deep depression and paranoia and suffering, of fear and so on. It is a state of hell. Then we have people that live in the worst situations of hunger, and people that live in the situations of, in the middle of war, of violence, of being tortured, of being enslaved, and so on. These are hell. Does this type of situations exist in this planet or not? Yes. And it's very sad because there's much more than what we could even expect. Okay. Some friends say reality is much worse than fiction. It's true. So, we are free from all of that. Okay? I have the freedom of not having my whole time and space being consumed by hunger, by pain, by fear, and so on. Okay? Which is not obvious. Because when we look around the world, there are much more situations of total suffering than situations of not being like that. Okay? So we continue the text, it goes on that. Likewise, if we had been on the other side, if we had been born as an Asura being, Asura is called a demigod, we would be suppressed by combat, argument, envy, and karmic obscuration, and we would not be able to practice Dharma. If we had been born as gods of the desire realm, or as gods of the higher realms, which is the form realm and the formless realm, we would be distracted respectively by activities of desire or essence-less mental stabilizations for eons, and we would not possess any dharma. Which means, if we make a metaphor, imagine a person that is born with a very, very, very big inheritance, with a lot of money, and during his whole life, it's only about getting whatever desire he gets. Whatever are his wishes and desires, he's able to fulfill them. Is there any space to think about others and to think about developing spiritual qualities? No. The person is trapped in his own desires and fulfilling his own desires. There are many people like that, no? There are people that, one time I saw one man, I got shocked by him. He was maybe one of the most rich persons I ever met. And I invited him to come to Tibet, and I said, in Tibet, you can come with us. And he said, okay, can I come with my Boeing 747? I said, probably yes, I don't know. And then he looked to me, and I looked at him, and I said, we also do humanitarian help in Tibet. We help the people there, and so on. And then he looked with a very cold eyes, and really with not a very nice attitude, very seriously, he said to me, poor people need to die. If they are poor, it's because they want. I looked to him and I thought, let me get out of here. It was one of the most weird situations I ever went through with this guy. Anyhow, what I want to say is that, there are people that are just trapped in their own level of pleasure and desire, and they have no openness for anything else. This is like being in the God realm. Then there is the semi-God realm, which are those that are not as rich as them, but they have more than enough. But because they don't have as much as the rich, they pass their whole life in envy, pointing the finger and trying to be as the rich. Also, they don't have freedom from that. Okay? Even if we had been born as human beings during the eon of darkness, there would not be Dharma to practice. There are periods during our human existence where no spiritual practice is taught. They are called the periods of darkness. Okay? Even among human beings, if we had been born as those barbarians in remote places, we would not even know the difference between virtue and non-virtue. So how would we be able to practice Dharma? It is also possible to be reborn as human beings in places and contexts in which there is nothing as a spiritual path and no one explaining what is good or what is bad, people just simply surviving between themselves. Also, if we had been born stupid, which means like with some mental disability, mute, we would lack the fortune of Dharma. It would be extremely difficult for us really to be able to understand and listen Dharma and so on. If we were born in the center of the land, which means where the Dharma does exist, but born with wrong views such as religious extremism, then the opportunity to recite even one sentence of refuge would be missed. Even if we were born in the vicinity of Buddhists, which means not necessarily Buddhists, but if we were born nearby spiritual practitioners of a true, sincere spiritual path, but as a blacksmith, a butcher, or those with wrong livelihoods, as a servant, we would be a slave to others, and we might recite just the words of refuge, but we would not recite even 100,000 manis, which means Omani Padme Hum, over our entire lifetime. Forget that. We would also be out of luck in reciting that mantra even for one day. Which means even if we are nearby someone showing the correct spiritual path, here Pabongkha Rinpoche refers to his time people that were in a difficult condition. Looked like, I don't know why, but blacksmiths were not in a good position at the time, and butchers also not. But how many people are there that they just need to live in order to survive, and they are somehow slaves or they are of their own work? No? Which means, in our Western modern society, we think we have freedom because we can buy some things. But we work. Many of us need to go to work from the moment we wake up till the moment we go to sleep, And we work to pay the car. We use the car to go to work. And then finally, when we have some free time, we are completely exhausted, mentally, physically, and then we just do something in order to try to get the mind free from our own tensions and so on. And then there we are again in the same cycle. What freedom do we have in this situation? Okay? So, similarly, the landlords, the mayors, business people, lenders, chief administrators, and so forth, like the wild monks in monasteries, discriminatory bosses at work, the old monks without a practice, the performers of rites in the villages, in the village, the intellectual ones who are wise but do not know how to think well, may include themselves in the class of religious people, but even if they meditate by attempting to practice an authentic religion, actually the word religion here, more than religious, is spiritual, okay? Like a spiritual path. But even if they meditate by attempting to practice an authentic spiritual path, they deviate from the path of light, not practicing as they had been instructed. They thus end their life empty, with the hope of merely accumulating a number of objects. We, on the other hand, feel satisfied that we have been able to become at least the reflection or the shadow of those who have found the essence of the complete and unmistaken path, and who think and meditate. The experience of non-leisure in the hell realm is due to unbearable heat and cold. Having no leisure or no freedom in the hungry ghost realm is due to the unbearable hunger and thirst. Non-leisure in the animal realm is due to being stupid, mute, and so forth. Apply the respective sufferings that create non-leisure to the others. As for people of the central land, where the Dharma exists, in the human realm, non-leisure or non-freedom for some people is due to manual work. Likewise, some non-leisure is due to sport. The person is busy his whole life to become more and more able, and because I want to win the Olympics. Nothing against, but can I become completely obsessed about sport and have no space for anything else? Yes. Some is due to wandering, traveling around. All I want is to travel and to know other places and to know people and to know things. Nice. But can I become obsessed about going to places and never actually developing myself? This doesn't mean that everybody that is traveling or everybody that is doing sport cannot have a spiritual path, okay? But there are people that are just obsessed by that. Some due to wandering, some due to commerce, some due to agriculture, some due to laziness, and some due to some due to being left behind, with regards to worldly affairs during the closing stages of their life. For some, non-leisure or non-freedom is due to not knowing Dharma. For some, the experience of non-leisure is created by not being able to give up this life in spite of knowing Dharma. I think it's quite clear. Actually, Pabongkha Rinpoche is so straightforward, he doesn't need much more extra explanation. But the point is the following. How many people we know, and if we look around, that are trapped on only survival by their own lifestyle, which means some of us, we don't have freedom to open our mind to see other things because we are just thinking about my business and I need to make money and the things need to work in the right way and the problems need to be solved. Some of us, we are fixed in some sort of pleasure. I like to eat nice food, so I am constantly thinking about where I go to eat this, and that restaurant is nice, and this is like this, and that is like that, and we are taken by that. Some of us, we are driven and we are completely taken by power. I must have more power and influence and this and that and so on and so on. Some of us, sometimes we are taken out by some nice things, for example, taking care of some people that we like. But we do not have space to open our mind to develop more patience, open our mind to have more compassion, to have a more clear view of reality, to grow internally on our own spiritual path. Okay? So, to have freedom means to have space, to have the opportunity to practice a spiritual path sincerely and not being completely taken by anything else. From what we know around us, how many are there with such freedom? Very few. Already are very few the ones that have the minimum necessarily materially. Then if we take out all of those that are completely taken away, slaves by their own desires and slaves by by money and by power and by pleasure and by position and so on, how many are left? And then we take all of those that are slaves of their own laziness or attachment to how things should be. Then not so many are actually left. Okay? So, based on that, at least, we try to be a reflection of a practitioner, which is, I am not yet the best practitioner doing everything in the correct way, but I'm trying to. I am not the actual thing, but I am similar to it. I'm trying to become one. That's already very good. And we are very fortunate from that. Sometimes people say to me, but by trying to practice the Dharma and put it in my life, I feel sometimes lonely because it looks like I go against the direction of the whole world. Sometimes I just wish I could be more normal. What do we mean by normal? If normal means to do things and to be just like most of the people are, if most of the people are happy and satisfied and in balance and in peace with themselves and others, I want to be normal. But if being normal means having a life and living in a way that brings more instability and envy and conflict and so on, I don't want that. I prefer to be different. Okay? So, the point is that I want to make my life meaningful. And I have this rare, wonderful opportunity. We have. Maybe we are not yet the most great practitioner that does the most incredible meditations and have developed the most perfect state of concentration and compassion and so on. Okay. Are we still attached to mundane things? I am. I think most of us are. Do we still do we like when we gain something materially? I would say yes. Are we still attached to the things of this life? Yes. Are we lazy? In many aspects, yes. But at least there is some part on us where we want to practice the Dharma, when we want to follow a spiritual path, where we want to make this life meaningful and not only live as a way of survival. That's wonderful. So we have this opportunity in our hands. Let's make a good use of it. Okay? So this part of the text, it concludes the part which regards to having leisure or having freedom. We are free from all different types of conditions and situations that would not allow us to practice the Dharma correctly. And that's not easy to get. That's truly not easy. Okay? We are free from wrong views. We are free from our own complete state of closeness. We are free from a complete state of laziness. We are free from different things that would block us externally and internally from being able to follow a spiritual path correctly. So, how fortunate I am. Let me make a good use of this opportunity because that's not obvious at all. Okay? The next step that we will see just after lunch refers to what we gain. Okay, I am free from all these difficult and negative conditions. But now, what are the positive conditions that I have? Then we will see them in order to rejoice. And when we see what we are free from, and we could be there, and what we have that is not obvious that we have, and we see what a wonderful opportunity we have, this generates this deep feeling of joy and urgency to do something good with this life that we have here. Okay, because it's not obvious where we are and what we have. How come me? I don't know. I really don't know. Why I am in this wonderful condition and others are not? The only answer I can give, causes and conditions. Which were the causes? Which are the conditions? I have no idea. Okay? But the fact is that I am, as we are, in a very, very privileged position. Incredibly privileged position. We are in a privileged position because we have the privilege to have the conditions to be able to practice the Dharma. I will just give one very short example that came to my mind now, which it helps maybe to understand. One day I arrived in Milan, in the airport, from whatever, I don't remember from where. And the airport of Malpensa for a long time had the problem of the trolleys for the luggage. Okay? You would arrive there, there were no trolleys. Okay, now it's one of the only airports I've ever been where you need to pay for the trolley, but that's another subject, okay? Anyhow, I arrived at the time, and there was a moment, a period, where there were simply no trolleys, very, very few trolleys. And I arrived there, and then, luckily, I had 2 or 3 luggage altogether, and all they had wheels I could manage without a trolley. And then I saw there were many people around, and especially I remember many ladies, all perfectly well-dressed and very polite and nice ladies. And suddenly, there were no trolleys, and they were all waiting for the trolley, and arrived like something like 5 trolleys for 15 people. And they were grabbing at the trolleys and almost hitting each other, and fighting for the trolleys, you know, and like shouting at each other, almost grabbing the hair of each other. And I was looking at that situation, and I was saying, look what conditions create, no? We are all nice and respectful until we don't need or we don't feel the need to do differently. Okay? What will happen if we are in the situation where we have no food other than trolleys? Then I want to see how we will behave. So, it's not that I am superior, so I am above conditions. No. I am totally influenced by conditions. Take me now that I feel so much open to spirituality and everything so wonderful. Put me in a condition where I have no food, where I am under violence the whole time, and so on. Let's see what truly happens to me. If I have a very high spiritual development already, I will be able to deal with it and keep my path. Otherwise, I will lose it. That's a fact. So, we have these wonderful conditions that gives us the possibility to use our life in a meaningful way. Why us? I don't know. What is the precise cause and condition? I don't know. But we should not take it for granted. Because we have no certainty how long it's going to last. And if we would ever get it again. If we do not create the causes for it to continue. Because if we have this opportunity as a result of causes and conditions that we made, should we at least continue to make the causes to continue to have such conditions or not? This is the minimum, no? Now, this is the next part of the text. But the fact is, we really are extremely privileged. Which doesn't mean we are superior to anyone. We are just privileged. And we need to use this opportunity in the best way as we can. Okay.
Jetsun lame kutse rapten chi namkar tinle cholchur gepadang losan tempe drume sasumgi drove musel tatu ne gyurchi Nimo dele tsendele nime kunyan delek shin Ninsen taktu delek pe kuncho sumke jing Concho sumge ngodruk sol, concho sumge trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Oma huntemba lame sangye rinpoche, kyoba lame tamcho rinpoche, rinpa lame gendu rinpoche, kyamne kuncho sumla chepa. Buon appetito.